With almost 35 years under his belt, Sonic has obviously had a ton of games. Every fan has a favorite, every fan has a least favorite, but the biggest question always is amongst fans, which one is the best? Finding the best Sonic game is a difficult quest for a few reasons. Obviously, it's not something that you can just mathematically add up because everybody's going to have something that specifically caters to them. Reason number 2. Sonic fans are notorious to be the biggest hypocrites in all of gaming. But that doesn't mean that we can't give it a shot. So I made a bracket, and with the help of my wonderful community and YouTube's poll system, let's see what fans consider the best of the best. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is ShrugPod, and today we are going to hop into a battle of mixed opinions and discover which Sonic game is the best of all time. The tournament itself was a randomized set of some of the highest regarded Sonic games. Some is an important word in that sentence. With 5 sets in total, there were plenty of highs and lows. So many so that I don't think I'd be able to take this whole thing on alone. That's why I had to get some help from 2 Sonic professionals that gladly were willing to commentate on all of these highlights. Introducing our 2 hosts, SF Productions and X-Pool, 2 individuals that were willing to join the front lines in helping me discover which game was best. Because who can really trust the opinion of a Sonic Chronicles fan? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome X-Pool to the table.
Hey
one of our first commentators of the evening, the event. Some of these shocked me to my core, and then some of these was just expected to happen. Are there any thoughts you have before we get started?
If I haven't gone through all of the results yet, if Sonic 06 somehow beats Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, I will crash out.
Do you have any predictions of what do you think is gonna take the win?
If I had to take a wild shot in the dark, I'm gonna say Frontiers is gonna be up there. Some of the newer games might be up there, like Unleashed would obviously be up there. Mania, maybe not. I'd say Mania won't be up there. Generations and Shadow Generations will definitely be up there. And yeah, that's all I gotta say.
So entering set 1, it started off with 2 recent games that were fresh on everyone's minds. Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Superstars, with Sonic Frontiers beating Superstars 94 to 6%.
That's insane. Alright, so y'all are crazy. Because honestly, I was actually playing it earlier today. I think Sonic Superstars is wonderful. I think Superstars is a wonderful game. Better than Frontiers? Depending on the day, I would say absolutely, honestly, because I would say with Frontiers, I think it's a great game. I think Frontiers is great, but it's just a lot of stuff in that game just feels kind of clobbled together, like they just put it there for the sake of putting it there. And a lot of Frontiers also feels very automated and just very things just happen that kind of break the pace. I'd say as an overall package, Superstars is more consistent and more fun to me. But that's me, obviously.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people prefer Frontiers, and I understand why.
I think that's kind of it's also just, the structure is that a 2D platformer is not going to be the same. Not that they're not comparable, but it's also, there's a lot more spectacle in Sonic Frontiers just because of the format. But I also just don't like cyberspace. And so
that's fair.
And so I think that Frontiers is held back a lot by that. One of the comments here literally says, this was the first of, maybe every poll has this, is the hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby comparison. This is
yeah, what Superstars is the hydrogen bomb?
Yeah, it's in every poll. I'm not joking. I could probably find someone saying it. One of my favorite comments in this entire thing. And this
Don't spoil it yet. Don't spoil it yet. We got to get to there.
Well, no, it comes from this one. My favorite comment says, "You're not going to find the answer here. Public votes are very rarely accurate." And then I think somebody responded by saying, "That's what you call an election." And I thought that was really funny. This then led to the first couple of upsets in this whole tournament. So Sonic Frontiers clears through, which leads into the potential first upset of the entire thing. I think this might be one of the biggest upsets in the entire tournament.
Oh, I'm looking at it
in,
now.
In
Are
round
you kidding
2,
me?
Shadow the Hedgehog beats Sonic and the Black Knight 72% to 28%.
Oh.
Oh no.
Dude. Why?
What happened?
Why? Shadow the Hedgehog is one of the few Sonic games that I played the first 2 levels of, and I was like, I don't want to play anymore. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore.
I don't want to be around anymore.
The only part about that game that like I actually enjoyed was hearing Sonic swear. I thought that was hilarious.
It's so crazy. I feel like I'm getting whiplash when playing Shadow the Hedgehog because some levels are like, wow, this was a really fun level. And then the next level is like, why is this so bad? And then versus Sonic the Black Knight, which I don't think that Sonic the Black Knight is like the best Sonic game, but it's like to obtain your objective is going in a straight line.
With Shadow, I'm like, I think the only redeeming quality of that game is like, I think a couple of the credits songs are pretty good. Like a couple, not most, only a couple of them. And the soundtrack itself, aside from those, is actually pretty good. Sonic and the Black Knight is a masterpiece with the exception of the gameplay itself, which is really sad.
I think it's a more consistent package, and I think that I personally would not have... I picked Sonic and the Black Knight. Shadow the Hedgehog moved on to the next set, which goes into the third round, which is also not surprising to me.
Oh, no!
But also a big upset of Sonic Riders Zero Gravity losing to Sonic 06, 36% to 64%.
All right, so now my new assumption stands. Half of your audience has to be from Twitter at this point, dude. Oh my gosh. I think I actually have recordings of me. I think when I was like 10 years old, I wanted to make my own top 10 Sonic games video. I didn't bring up any good points, but I remember talking about how I thought Sonic 06 was fine. But even now, if I went back to it, I'd probably be like, not fine, but I think the game would be really bad. But worse than Zero Gravity? Like, have people even played Zero Gravity? I don't think Zero Gravity is anything great, but it's a solid enough racing game that I can look at it and be like, you know, I could play this for like an hour.
Yeah, right.
06, I can't even watch the cutscenes of that without wanting to watch the Snapcube versions. Like this. Oh yeah. The complete cultural reset of Sonic 06 is crazy.
It is.
Because, like, people are like, actually, 06 is actually a really good game with lots of potential and aura. Like, yeah, Project 06 is incredible. It is I think it is probably, like, one of the best Sonic experiences I've had in my life. But that's a recreation in Unity. Sonic 06 is an unfinished, buggy, uncomfortable mess.
The two things that I think that Sonic 06 has an upper hand in, because I think Sonic 06, to be quite honest, I'm very nostalgic of Sonic 06. I got it as a Christmas gift, and it was the only game I had on my PS3 for a long time, and so I've played Sonic 06 all the way through multiple times. The two things I think the upper hand that 06 has the upper hand in versus Zero Gravity is, I think that Shadow's story is phenomenal, and I think that the music is better. It is so uncomfortable to play. It's not fun. There's not a single character that I enjoy playing as in the original 06. The hub worlds are, while I love them dearly, like, they are awful to run through, but versus Zero Gravity, which is definitely a downgrade to Riders, I still think that it is more consistent. I think that the cultural reset should be studied for 06.
It should. Yes.
I think that subconsciously, once people start getting like I can talk about this in a way that's not openly negative, that opens the gates of people saying, "Oh, I can most definitely see like this in a more positive manner, which it's great that PO6 has done wonders on like the general perception, but it's also at the end of the day, a lot of times like people will change their minds and just because the internet says so, and that I think that Sonic fans have fallen into the trap of being the one fan base that it's like you see that happen the most. And so with things like 06, it makes sense, but it's a little tragic. The next few rounds were pretty uneventful, which gave me some hope. Sonic CD beat Sonic Advance.
I've played both CD and Advance. I like CD more, but Advance is a game that like I'm just like, it's good. It's like, just not anything crazy. I'm not like, oh my gosh.
Sonic Lost World lost to Rush Adventure. Adventure beat Battle. Generations beat Rivals. Tragic. Yeah. Sonic 3 and Knuckles beat Sonic Advance 3.
Have you ever played Rivals?
Oh yeah, I love Rivals. That was until round 9, which was a first big heavy hitter. Round 9, which was Sonic Mania versus Shadow Generations, and Shadow Gens beat Sonic Mania 78% to 22%.
Are you kidding me?
Shadow Generations is like the recent game, but it does make me really happy that a Sonic game has come out recently that people are like willing to defend, be like, this is like one of the best. Do I think that it's better than Mania? I don't know. I honestly was pretty split on this, like when I first had to like sit down and think about it. And I don't know what I would pick. I'm gonna be honest in saying I think I would also pick Shadow Gens. I lean more towards like the 3D games a bit more, and so that is gonna sway my decision. But that doesn't detract from the fact that Sonic Mania is like the perfect 2D like Sonic game.
It's tough to say because like, Generations is up there in favorite games of all time, but like whenever you put Shadow with it, it's like near the top. But Shadow Generations on its own, I think is great, but I think the pacing in that game is really bad. I think the pacing in Shadow Generations is not good.
That's
because
fair.
Like you start off with 2 levels and then like you have to go up to the boss gate and that opens up other missions. And the missions in Shadow Generations, I do not like them at all.
Right.
Maybe I have to go back and play it again because it's been a while since I've played Shadow Generations, but like it's just the missions in that game are very, very monotonous, very, very tedious, and I cannot stand them most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's just pacing is just the main thing that kills it for me. And also just Mania is magical.
Yet again, with the first round, we had plenty of outcomes that just made sense. The next round was Heroes beat Secret Rings. Next round, Unleash beat Riders.
Duh.
Not shocked. Sonic 2 beat Advance 2. Not shocked. Rush beat Forces. Not shocked.
Thank God.
Now, as the comments said quite often, I believe that this was one of those hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby scenarios, but one of our commentators disagreed. But this is the one that I think that you said you really wanted to talk about, because Sonic Adventure 2 beat Sonic the Fighters 96% to 4%, and I personally think this makes sense.
It does. But if you asked me like 2 years ago, I'd be like, probably Sonic the Fighters. But recently, I had replayed Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube because I've played through the PC port because I had it on Dreamcast at first. The copy broke after I beat the hero story, but playing it on GameCube, I think really changed my view. It made me go, well, this game is actually really good. And I think it's up there in the top 10 Sonic games now for me. But Sonic the Fighters is such brain dead fun. Well, not brain dead, but like it is so fun. That game is so stupid, and I love it so much. And the soundtrack is also incredible as well.
When it comes to Sonic Adventure 2, there are some people that may think there's no point in a specific matchup like this because it's just going to get taken out by Sonic Adventure 2. Regardless, Sonic Colors made it out in the last round of the first set, leading us into the second set. Alright, so we're starting the second set, and to join us for the second set, we have SF Productions joining us.
How's it going?
Do you have any big predictions for this.
I'm going to say Sonic Adventure 2, even though I hate to admit that. But yeah, people like that game. Honestly, Sonic Frontiers, I know there's been kind of a... I don't want to say switch up because that's like people just change their opinions, whatever. But, you know, people definitely did like that game at launch. At least the majority did. And then now it's more of a mixed opinion. But I can still see that making it to the end. Sonic X Shadow Generations, if that's even one of them, or Shadow Generations.
So starting the second round, it wasn't in the first one. Sonic Frontiers beat Sonic 1, 84% to 16%.
Okay, wow, 84% to 16%.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm not surprised that Frontiers won, but that is a very big difference. I am surprised at that difference. That's kind of crazy.
Like, I think that ultimately, like, 2 and 3 have a better leg to stand on, but I don't know, like, Sonic 1, like, being toppled by Frontiers is, like, it just kind of is weird in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I know people dislike Sonic 1, and rightfully so. There are a bunch of issues with it. You know, Green Hill and, I guess, Starlight are really only the 2 good zones in the game, if you ask me. But, I don't know, I still think it's a pretty decent game, and I know people, again, have grown to dislike it. But I could really say the same about Frontiers, honestly. People have grown to dislike that game as well over the years. So, yeah, I would still obviously expect Frontiers to win, because that is one of my personal favorite Sonic games.
Yeah. I do agree. I know that, like, we're sitting here being like, oh, it beat Sonic 1, but it's also like, no, it does have a little bit of a better leg against it. So I'm not, like, super shocked. But with some of the upsets getting further into the tournament, we couldn't ignore the elephant in the room. So in the first round, Sonic 06 beat Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, and Shadow the Hedgehog beat Sonic and the Black Knight.
Okay, so which one do you want me to talk about here?
So, well, all I'm saying is Shadow the Hedgehog beat Sonic 06 83% to 17%. I'm just saying,
what?
Like, they made it here.
Okay, I don't hate that. I know this is not what I'm supposed to talk about, but did you say that Sonic 06 beat Sonic Riders Zero Gravity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but, you know, Shadow the Hedgehog beating Sonic 06, I don't hate that, you know? Both of the games are pretty terrible, if you ask me. I think I would say 06 is slightly better, because at least I can finish that game from start to finish, you know? I can at least play it from start to finish. I find it very hard to go through Shadow the Hedgehog and, like, do all 10 endings and get Super Shadow Final Boss. Like, I've never done that.
Would you rather get the dumpster water or, like, the hobo fire? You know, it's like...
Exactly.
It's like one of those things of where it's so... At the end of the day, it's like the fact that they made it to the second, like, set is kind of insane.
Yeah, what's up with that?
To me, like, that's just insane. I still can't get over that. Yeah.
And, you know, Shadow the Hedgehog, I can kind of vouch for that, because I do find using the guns kind of fun at times. But then you have the level design, and the replayability of the game is literally just replaying the levels.
Yeah.
You know?
Or to counter that, it's Sonic 06 to me is not fun to play, but then, like, the levels are designed, like, fairly well. And so it's kind of like what would you rather have? Would you rather have, like, a better...
It's a trade-off for sure.
I don't know, man. Ugh, that's so hard.
It's so hard because you don't want to play either.
Yeah. While some rounds got off a little cleaner, there was still some heated debate on a few choices. The next one is Sonic Rush Adventure beat Sonic CD 67 to 33%.
I love this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wouldn't say it's in my top 5 Sonic games. It was at one point. I do prefer it to the original Rush, and I do think it is the best 2D Sonic game, possibly being beaten only by Mania or Sonic 3, but I do think it is definitely better than CD.
Now, this next one is what I think I should actually tell you before we move forward, that Sonic Mania has already been knocked out.
What? Are you kidding me? By what?
Shadow Gens.
What? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that, like...
That's fine.
Yeah, I just before moving forward, I was just like, I think you just deserve to know. Like...
Yeah, okay. I thought you were going to say some crap like, oh, so Sonic Mania here...
Sonic Mania lost to Sonic Rivals
Sonic
2.
Forces. Yeah, Sonic Rivals 2.
Which is already out, tragically. This one kind of hurts me. This was probably one of the hardest ones in the entire tournament, was Sonic Adventure beating Sonic Generations 68 to 32%.
I am probably... So, Sonic Adventure over Sonic Generations.
Yeah.
I agree.
Really?
Honestly. Yes. And here's why. I don't really have a reason why. I just like Sonic Adventure more, to be completely honest with you. I don't know. You know, it's... I love Generations. Trust me, I love Generations. But Sonic Adventure just got that charm to it, you know?
Yeah.
I think modern Sonic's gameplay in Generations is better than Sonic Adventure's gameplay as a whole, because, you know, you have Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and, you know, I would personally say all of the characters in Sonic Adventure are fun to play as, except for Big the Cat and Amy. But their stories are over in like 20 minutes a piece,
right?
If you just run through them. So it doesn't take up that much time in the game. But, you know, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Gamma are super fun to play as to me. I really like the level design for Knuckles, especially in that game. I feel like it's much more compact, and the Emerald Radar doesn't screw you over like it does in SA2. So, but for Generations, you have Classic Sonic, right? And I don't dislike Classic Sonic in Generations, but I do think it is a chore to play as Classic Sonic overall. I would rather just play as modern Sonic, and I think that's the problem. With Sonic Adventure, I don't really feel that. I kind of feel like, okay, I'm done with Sonic's story, then you can move on to Tails and Knuckles, and it's just like, okay, I'm still having enjoyment playing the game regardless. So yeah, I do think Sonic Adventure is the better game.
Yeah, I think the problem I have is because Sonic Adventure is my favorite Sonic game. Like you said, it's like people want to complain about Big and Amy, but it's like those stories end in like the time that it could take you to make dinner. Like it is
exactly.
It is literally so quick to get through, but I do think that it's like those two things hold it back from people seeing it as like, well, I mean, Sonic Adventure is obviously winning right here, but that just kind of surprises me because I feel like I hear those two complaints the most. Because to me, Sonic Generations, it feels like a complete package, and like overall seems like it has good music. Like you said, classic Sonic, you do like it does seem like a chore, but he controls really well. Modern Sonic stages are like the best he's felt in like the franchise, arguably. But then you have, I don't know. It seems weird that like an anniversary collection is like standing as like one of the best Sonic games to me. But I just think that it's like it's an easy jump in point, and it would be like my pick for the best Sonic game. But I also would not. I'm not like upset that Adventure is winning.
Yeah, I think fundamentally Generations is the better designed game,
right?
Just looking at the game as a whole. But I do think Adventure has that, again, that charm and that certain feel to it that just can't be topped.
Yeah. Also, I'm just so fascinated by Adventure's hub world. I don't care that there's like hardly anything to do. I just sometimes if I'm bored, I just go run around the hub worlds. And then versus like versus like White Space, it's like, oh man, there's
no one is running around in white space, bro.
Yeah,
you're lying if you say you are.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you said you're running around in white space in Generations or like Shadow Generations, then like,
oh yeah, of course,
like, you know,
that's an actual like hub world.
Yeah. That's great that we bring up Shadow Generations because the next round is Shadow Generations beating Sonic 3 and Knuckles 78% to 22%.
Ooh, wow.
And it's like wow, the Genesis fans are like rolling in their grave right now.
Wow, that is a very steep margin there.
It is crazy.
Yikes, okay.
It's crazy that an add-on to a decade-old game is beating one of the best-selling Sonic games in history.
I've always been more biased towards Boost Sonic. For the most part, you know, with some exceptions, like with Adventure 1.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do agree that Shadow Generations might have the slight edge over Sonic 3 and Knuckles just a little bit. But at the same time, Shadow Generations feels very short. And I know it's supposed to be just like an add-on, it's not supposed to be a full game. But when you put Shadow Generations like right next to, like you said, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the game that perfected the classic Sonic formula, that's like a fun playthrough from start to back with, I think a few levels are a little bad, but it's a mostly fun experience. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's just up to if you prefer the boost gameplay or the classic gameplay. So I can definitely see Shadow Generations being better.
Yeah, I can too, and that's the thing. I'm kind of in the same boat as I sometimes lean a lot more towards like the I lean a lot more towards the boost games and the 3D games. Not even necessarily the boost games, just the 3D games over the 2D games. And that's why it's just like I love Rush and Advance and like the Genesis quadrilogy, but it's just like I don't know. I can't think of like if I take the two experiences of like when I first played Sonic 3 and Knuckles versus when I played Shadow Generations, it's just like I would have to agree with this. The next round, Sonic Unleashed beats Sonic Heroes 78 to 22%.
It should honestly the gap should honestly be bigger. I'm one of the people who say that Heroes is one of the worst Sonic games, while Unleashed is one of the best Sonic games. I think Unleashed fundamentally is not a very well-designed game. I can admit that the Werehog is not fundamentally well-designed at all. As much as I don't hate the Werehog at all, I've grown to like it a lot over the years. But I do think that in Unleashed's case, the good does outweigh the bad. And I still do consider it to be one of the best Sonic games. And that's honestly more carried by, yes, the daytime Sonic gameplay, but also the environments and the story and everything outside of the core gameplay is really, really good in that game. With Heroes, I think all of it sucks, besides maybe the music. I really don't like anything about Heroes. I don't like how it's structured, I don't like the gameplay, I don't like the level design. It's just, that game, I just do not like that game in the slightest. So I definitely agree that Sonic Unleashed is the better game.
I hate to be the part... Well, I agree with this. I would 100% agree that Unleashed and Heroes should go like this, like head-to-head. I am a Sonic Heroes advocate.
Oh no.
I'm so sorry. I have to...
Alright, stop the recording. We're done.
Stop the recording. Get out the booth. Mechanically speaking, Sonic Unleashed has the advantage over Heroes any day. Like, no, even in the Werehog stages, which it's like, the Werehog stages aren't bad. It's just like, it again, just kind of, they're clunky. Like, but it's like...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but it's also like, they have those moments of where it's just like, oh, this is fun. It's just like, wow, I actually nailed that combo really well. And then it's just like, oh, well, now 10 minutes later, I'm in the same stage. But if you take it like that, I don't know. With versus Heroes, I think the Heroes mechanic is really good on paper. I think that, like, again, mechanically speaking, it's like there's a lot of things holding it back. Like, it's like you can't swap until you, like little things. It's like you can't swap until you hit the ground and things like that. And that can make it like a little like bit more difficult to play, a little awkward. But I really like the levels of Heroes. I think I like the aesthetic maybe sometimes more than the design or the aesthetic of the stages more than like the level designs themselves, because they're sometimes like just pretty linear. But I don't know. I think I like a lot of the looks of the stages, and so that's what holds it for me. And also, I do like the music in the stages, but there is a little bit more. There is a little bit more nostalgia speaking in that, so I have to separate that. But at the end of the day, I would pick Unleashed over Heroes. While I adore Sonic Heroes, it's like one of my favorites. It's just not the best.
Oh my
like,
god.
Sonic Unleashed.
Yeah.
Sonic Unleashed is gonna take it any day. Yeah, sorry to upset you with that.
Yeah, that's this is upsetting news for sure.
Yeah, I know. Really bad character arc that I'm going through right now. I'll get over it. Then the next one, Sonic Rush beats Sonic 2, 69% to 31%.
I don't know about this one.
I don't know. I think that Sonic 2 is my favorite Genesis game.
Yeah, I think I agree, honestly. I think I like it better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles now that I think about it.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that, like, again, Sonic 3 and Knuckles perfected the formula, but that isn't, like, I think I had more fun with Sonic 2. And Sonic Rush's, like, level design, again, like, the bottomless pits, like, really get to me sometimes, but...
Yeah, the level design is not the best.
So in terms of, like, gameplay, it's like I would have to give it more to Sonic 2.
Okay, I think gameplay-wise, if we're talking, like, the boost versus the classic, again, I'm more of a boost guy myself.
Right.
I do prefer the speed of Sonic Rush, and the tricks are fun to pull off.
Yeah.
And, all of that. But that level design, man, it is rough.
Yeah. Sorry, I think
it is very rough.
Yeah, I think that's what I was meaning to say. I think I just, like, misspoke.
Oh, okay.
But I think you are right. Like, the boost and the trick mechanic is fun, but, like, the level design, it's like Sonic 2 has a definite advantage. So
I don't know. I think I used to think that Rush was better than Sonic 2, but now I don't know. I think I have to put Sonic 2 over Rush personally.
Yeah, I would definitely put Sonic 2 over Rush, but, like, also, again, depending on the day, I could be swayed. So it's like, I'm content with this.
I think I would put Sonic 2 over Rush if I'm
Yeah.
making, like, kind of a unbiased tier list or something.
Right.
But, Rush being better than it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine, I guess.
It is kind of crazy that, like, all of the Genesis games have, like, now been knocked out. Like...
That's
I just think,
crazy. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I'm kind of I'm just so mixed on this one. Sonic Adventure 2 was one of the most influential entries in the whole franchise. There are some people that feel a different way, me included. The last one for this set, Adventure 2 beat Sonic Colors 92% to 8%, which is...
What? I am so sick of people treating Colors like it's a bad game.
Colors is
what
so
did you say?
fun!
I'm sorry, what was the percentages again?
92 to 8%. Like,
this
what?
is ridiculous. Colors is the better game. I'm sorry. Colors is the better game, okay? This is very biased coming from me. Colors was my first Sonic game, and I still love that game to death. And I've already mentioned, I think, how I think Adventure 2 is extremely overrated. 2/3 of that game are not fun to play at all. Knuckles sucks. Tails sucks. Sonic is literally the only fun character. Well, Sonic and Shadow, I guess.
Yeah.
Are the only fun to be had in that game, in my opinion. Sonic Colors, while it is a very play it safe, simple game, it's fun.
It's so fun.
Just a
It's so
fun
fun.
game throughout. And I think when playing a video game, that's all that really matters. I know people like to say, oh, but it doesn't have the story and the sauce and the voice acting. And it's like, dude, do you want to watch a movie or play a video game? And
Bro,
that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Like,
Look.
like, yeah, obviously, like, Adventure 2 can, like, conceptually speaking, has a better story than Sonic Colors, but it's just like, how many people do you hear talk about the story to a Sonic game outside of Adventure 2? Like, Adventure 1 gets talked about, but it's like, I do not hear, like, people just be like, oh, the story in a Sonic game. It's like, if you take that part out, and you're just talking about, like, you playing the game, it's just like, Sonic Colors is just gonna take it.
Yeah, for sure. This is honestly very sad to see. This is, and look, I understand the complaints with, oh, Colors isn't a 3D game. It's mostly 2D. Well, what's wrong with that?
Like what?
Is there anything wrong with it being 2D? I understand when the game is marketed as a 3D game, you would want to play a 3D game, but does the 2D parts make the game bad? No. Can they be gimmicky at times? Yes, of course. Is there filler? Yes. But for a consistent, like, 3-hour Sonic game, I think the level design is really good. I love the environments. I love the music. Again, I love the boost formula. Colors is a great game. It just doesn't have a good story or that scope and ambition and aura and potential, whatever you want to say, that SA2 does. But again, when I'm playing a video game, I don't care about all of that stuff. This is bad.
In a very real sense, this is like made me think it's like do Sonic fans just struggle with like mob mentality? Like at this point, like it's just kind of are we willing to jump on a train that's anything less than like what the majority is wanting to say? I think Adventure 2 like struggles the most with that. Not that like we're able to to do outside that, but I feel like a lot of Sonic fans is just like nonchalantly will just think like, oh yeah, I'm able to, it's like everybody else is saying it, so it must be true. With some sets out of the way, the competition was slowly starting to heat up, but there were a few stragglers that still had some questionable placements. Going into the third set, which there's only 4 rounds in the third set, but we're nearing the end. We only have just a few rounds left. The start of set 3 is Sonic Frontiers beating Shadow the Hedgehog 82% to 18%. And
well,
it needed to happen.
I don't think we really have to talk about this one too much.
I don't think we have to. I don't think I have to double down. Round 2, Sonic Adventure beats Sonic Rush Adventure 92% to 8%, which is again a massive gap. But this is one that I'm like, this makes sense.
I agree. I do think Sonic Adventure is the better game. You know, I think nowadays Sonic Rush Adventure is more of a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Even though I think it's a great game, I think it's not very that known. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Sonic Adventure being better.
The next round, I don't know how to feel about this one. Sonic Unleashed lost to Shadow Generations 26 to 74%.
Okay, I think it had to be done. I don't know if I agree entirely. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it at all. But I do think just for the fact that Unleashed is a full experience, it's a full game, I think it has the slight edge over Shadow Generations for me. But in terms of quality and it being consistently good, Shadow Generations is better in that regard. So, you know what? I don't hate this at all.
I'm definitely in the same boat. I think it's acceptable. It's not like there's not a part of Generations I'm just all like, yeah, not that I would call like a perfect game, but it's just like, yeah, I guess just comparatively speaking, I'm content. Now in the last round of this set, Sonic Adventure 2 beat Sonic Rush 91% to 9%.
Alright, what is okay? You know what? Whatever at this point. I don't agree at all. I think Rush is the better game as well. This is listen, man. I if it wasn't obvious, I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic Adventure 2. I really do think the majority of modern Sonic games are better than Sonic Adventure 2.
Yes. I agree.
Look, I understand why it's winning here. I do understand. But by that much is still kind of crazy to me. I can't wrap my head around that big margin there. That's crazy.
While a few of the other sets started to make more sense, there was still the looming chance that Sonic Adventure 2 may just still be the people's choice. But here we are, the semifinals. The participants in the tournament claimed it as a battle of nostalgia versus recency bias. But what did the polls have to say? So we're entering to the semifinals. So the first round is Sonic Frontiers beat Sonic Adventure 67 to 33%, and this one hurt.
Okay, so Sonic Frontiers beating Sonic Adventure. Okay, I agree. I love Frontiers. It was definitely one of my favorite Sonic games. It's one of the Sonic games I've poured the most hours into. But I don't know. It's just I love Adventure as well. They're very close for me. Like they're very close on the same level. But I do think I have to give Frontiers the edge. I know the game is, when it was released, it was not really in a complete state when it came to the game's ending and how that was handled and all of that. And even with Final Horizon, I still think there are a lot of issues with the game that were never fixed. Fundamental issues that honestly couldn't be fixed in a patch or DLC or anything. They would just have to make a whole new game. With Adventure, it's kind of the same way. But I think with Adventure, the difference is that Adventure at least felt complete to an extent. But at the same time, I do prefer the gameplay of Frontiers. So I am a little conflicted here, but I am content with the fact that Frontiers won.
Yeah, no, Adventure is significantly better. It's way more consistent in terms of movement, in terms of level design, in terms of story, maybe? But I think both stories are really good. This isn't a diss Frontiers. I really like Frontiers, but just in terms of just everything, I think I cannot name a single area where I would say Frontiers is better. I think Frontiers is good in a lot of areas, but just everyone I think of, like story, I'd say Adventure is a little bit stronger. Soundtrack,
Yeah.
Adventure is... Because Frontiers' soundtrack is way more atmospheric, and I love that about it. That's like one of the only 2 Sonic games I want on vinyl right there. But Adventure, I'd say, is way more memorable. Yes, way more memorable.
A lot more variety.
Way more varied as well. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then just like, I don't think it's longer, is it? I don't think so. But it's just way more.
I think Frontiers
way more varied.
I think if you run through Frontiers and you're actually like taking your time, I think the Frontiers takes more time to beat than Adventure.
It took me a couple days on my first run. I'm pretty sure.
It took me like 4 sittings for like a few hours. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just biased towards Adventure.
I think I agree with it. I think I do agree with the
I think I'm leaning more toward, now that like we've had this conversation, like I feel like I'm maybe leaning more towards, maybe I'm following the mob mentality. Maybe I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, you're one of them.
Yeah, I'm one of them. But again, it's like, it's also just, I hate like nostalgia pandering, and like this is when Frontiers doing the nostalgia bit. It's just like
it gets to a point.
It's gone too far. Like Generations makes sense. Like Shadow Generations makes sense because it's Generations.
It's Generations.
And hopefully,
yeah.
Hopefully this is the end of like us rehashing stages. But like Frontiers doing it was like,
there is no reason for Frontiers to be doing this, especially when the actual open world environments, the islands, are the most bare bones generic aesthetics that have been done over and over again in video games, you know.
So I'm okay with this. I'm content. I can take Frontiers over Adventure. And the gap is a bit too much, but you know. The next one for the final round of set 4 is Shadow Generations versus Sonic Adventure 2, and Shadow Generations beat Adventure 2 65% to 35%, and I am okay with that.
This is the first one where I'm like, that is a struggle to pick. Because, you know, Shadow Generations is great. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Love it. Wonderful. But then, like, you know, pacing is a problem. But then in Sonic Adventure 2, you know, like, that is a consistent game throughout. But then you have a little bit of pacing issues with the just general story, like whether it's like through mech stages, speed stages, hunter stages, whatever. There's like a lot of pacing that's really weird. And also, while the story I'd say is a bit better, but the dialogue and the cutscenes are not.
Yeah.
Like the dialogue and cutscenes are way better in Shadow Generations. So that's
100%.
Like, that's where it's kind of even for me. Where I'm honestly like, I don't care which way it goes. I think both could be definitely.
I think if I take how much fun that I have just playing the game, because both have, like, if I get down to brass tacks, I'll be like, I think Adventure 2 has a better story, but then like a better music, but it's just like, I also don't like playing 2/3 of the game as much. I think that like Adventure 2 definitely makes like the treasure hunting stages less fun. Mm-hmm. I know that's not like an unpopular opinion. I think that the mech stages is my pacing issue, because I think that kind of brings the game to just a big halt. But then in Generations, it's less of a pace issue that I'm bothered by, because I enjoyed the missions, or just like exploring and going around, and so I think that I just had more fun playing Generations than I did Adventure 2, and I think that's becoming more of like a lot more people are talking about that now, but that's how I would do it.
Justice has been served.
Justice has been served. I'm happy to report that it has been dethroned. This might be the biggest shock of
this is crazy. So Frontiers versus Shadow Generations is the final, is what I'm gathering.
So
wow. That's honestly probably my top 2 picks for Sonic as well. So That's kind of crazy.
So what do you think? Like, I mean, I guess we've hated on Adventure 2 so much. I guess we don't have to say that much about Shadow Generation.
Yeah.
In a shocking twist, the king was dethroned and the new generation took the lead. But who would come out on top? Well, now we're going into the final round.
I'm honestly very scared. Actually, I'm not scared. I would be fine if either of these games won, but can I go ahead and give my prediction for which one
Yeah.
won? I do think Shadow Generations is going to win.
I don't know how to feel about this one.
Shadow Generations versus Sonic Frontiers. Shadow Generations beat Frontiers 79% to 31%, making Shadow Generations voted the '1 best Sonic game.
I actually voted in this one. I think I saw this one on my community post and voted for it. I voted for Shadow.
I mean, in this, I would put Shadow over Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, I think just that pacing gets to me still.
Yeah.
Because I cannot, like, I just always think about the pacing issues, and I'm just like, ugh. But, again, like, Frontiers is a good game. Really, really good game. I really like it a lot. But consider the fact that I thought about putting Superstars over it should show you that I don't think it's as good as everyone says it is.
I agree to an extent.
Yeah, like it's like that much, like 79% much. Yeah, I would pick Generations over Frontiers. I like the, well, I think that like the general, if I break it down, it's just like these two together, I think is almost poetic in a sense that it's like starting this new era of kind of like the open zone concept. I think that the open zone is better in Generations. I think that the stages, I think in just the stages and missions alone in Generations blows cyberspace out of the water.
Yeah. Look, I'm kind of conflicted on this because I've mentioned this again. We've mentioned this already, but Shadow Gens is a very short game, and it is just an add-on, an expansion, you know. But with Shadow Generation, it is kind of a lot like 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, where Bowser's Fury felt like more of a DLC to Sonic. Not Sonic. What am I even saying? Super Mario Odyssey, with how that game handled its gameplay, and then Bowser's Fury kind of expanded it to a full open world, and you had these islands that you go to. With Shadow Generations, I feel like it does improve on many aspects of Frontiers. The open zone is much more coherent and cohesive, whatever the word is looking. There aren't just floating platforms floating in the sky and rails for the most part. The environment is much more, even though it's white space, it is a lot more interesting to me, at least. And, you know, just overall, the open zone, I do think it is improved. Of course, since it is not the main part of Shadow Generations, you know, there's not that much to do on it compared to Frontiers. But then you get into the actual, like, level design, the linear level design of Shadow Generations, and it's some of the best we've ever seen in the series, you know? Chaos Island Act 1, while at first that level seemed to be not that fun, speedrunning it is a blast. I'm pretty sure the speedrun is down to, like, almost under a minute at this point. So it's crazy how people speedrun Shadow Generations. Overall, it is just a more polished and mechanically advanced game compared to Sonic Frontiers. But I still think Sonic Frontiers deserves some credit because it is a full game. It is a full experience. Does it have more flaws than Shadow Generations? Absolutely. But at the same time, with Shadow Generations, I feel like they could polish it to hell and back because it's short, you know? There wasn't much that went into actually making the content for the game. So I'm a little conflicted about this. I do think Shadow Generations overall is the better experience, but I don't know. I think in some cases it's kind of unfair to compare the two. So yeah, I'm definitely fine with this result, but I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think that this is like a case of like recency bias taking the win because Shadow Generations won?
Possibly. I do think there is some sort of... I do think the honeymoon phase is a real thing with Sonic games. We see it pretty much every time a game releases, where people would be like, oh, this is so good, this is so great, and then gradually over time, people will start changing their opinions on it. You know, it happened with Frontiers, it happened with Colors, it happened with Superstars even. I remember people, myself included, I really did find a lot of enjoyment in Superstars at launch. But as time went on, I started to realize that the game isn't really that good. So, is it possible for Shadow Generations to go through something like that, like later this year? Let's just say, yeah, of course. I do think while the game is heavily polished and it's really well done in pretty much every aspect of the design, I feel like there will be something that comes up that people are like, oh, this game is no longer that good. So I do think it is possible that it beating all of these other games is a case of recency bias, but I don't know. At the same time, looking at it for what it is a really, really good game, and it is one of the better Sonic games we've gotten in recent years. So I don't know.
For me personally, I think that it is cool to see a recent Sonic game getting so much love. And it's because it's felt so long that like everybody's kind of been like, this is a good game. And so I think if I were to get, even if recency bias is like, which obviously that might be the case here. I mean, it's the most recent one. But even if that is the case, it makes me feel good that it's like moving in a positive direction of like, this is a game that everyone really likes. And like at this point, it's just like, this might be like one of the best ones. And I personally think that's good for a community that has so many like negative aspects to it and is known to be so negative. I think that it is really cool to see like a recent game, everybody really like positively leaning towards it. Shadow Generations took home the win as the #1 voted best Sonic game. Out of over 100,000 voters, the people have spoken to what they uphold as the best. If this went your way, what would you say is like the best Sonic game?
Well, if it was my list, I would have combined Sonic and Shadow Generations.
Right.
And Sonic X Shadow Generations would have won. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it would have won by a landslide. But I think if I had to separate the two, that would make it really tough. Probably Base Generations, because Base Generations, I mean, Frontiers definitely would not be as high up as it is. I think the final round would have probably been like Mania and Gens, or Sonic 3 and Gens, or, you know, if I could just include all the collections, I would. Because if I could be like Origins versus Sonic X Shadow Generations, that would have been like, well, Origins I feel is a little unfair because that's like 3 very different games actually.
Yeah.
I take that back. But yeah, it's just whenever I was thinking about something for Sonic X Shadow and then Sonic Generations. Base Generations is a game that I can always go back to and have so much fun with it, and just like either just play it like when I'm just like I'm so bored, I want to play something to like just as a stimulation or something, or somewhere I'm genuinely like I want to play something that I will be engaged in for at least like 10 minutes. Generations. Like it's one of those games where I can just play it for 10 minutes, get out, get back in. And that's how I kind of like to play games nowadays. Like back before, maybe not, but nowadays I like playing games in like small sittings where like I'll sit down, play a game, and then stop. And Generations is perfect for that, in my opinion. Frontiers maybe if I'm feeling really autistic, but most of the time it's Generations.
Yeah.
That's why I was talking to you earlier before we were recording about Penny's Big Breakaway and Sonic Generations being like my most played games of 2024.
Yeah.
Because like those games I can literally hop in and hop out and just have fun. Because that's what games are. Like I like playing games like if I'm at an arcade cabinet. Like I will play them. I'll put a quarter in, play them for like 10 minutes, and then be it. That'd be done. But I would never want to own an arcade cabinet because that would be expensive as frick.
Oh yeah.
But Sonic Generations would definitely be at the top. Is just long story short. I just like to ramble.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely. I think I wanted to separate the two just because I think that like if you put Sonic X Shadow Generations together, it would obviously have like a very unfair advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But I 100% agree. I would call Sonic Generations the best. That's what I would probably.
Absolutely, heavy agree.
What would you pick? This is like my last question. What would you pick as like the overall best Sonic game?
Okay, with all of my biases and everything taken into account here, yes, I'm kind of, I have a big 3, I guess. 4. Let's just say 4. Why not? We have Frontiers, Unleashed, Shadow Gens, and Colors. Those are like the big 4 of the boost games, I guess, because I really do like the boost games. I've had more enjoyment with Frontiers than any of the other ones, but I do think that Shadow Generations and Colors and Unleashed are like, I guess, the better games than Frontiers, but I don't know. It's one of those 4. I kind of like alternate every day, it feels like. So
Yeah.
I don't think I could give you a concrete answer on that.
When it comes to an experiment like this, it's really interesting and really awesome that a lot of fans of a bunch of different games come together and give their takes. The best part was seeing some of the craziest turns of events and seeing all these things and all these preconceived notions change and see the new generation come in. Maybe the tides are changing. Who knows? But heed my words. There is no such thing as the best Sonic game. What you think is the best is just the best. Now, I could make this a commentary about how Sonic fans are the most hypocritical and toxic fan base and that some of you all need to learn to be quiet or put the keyboard away, but I won't. While Sonic fans are notorious for consistent negativity, Sonic fans are also the source for endless passion and positivity. At the end of the day, when discussing what game you think is best, I urge you to think about what kind of fan you want to be. Or be a degenerate. I don't care. Huge thanks to X-Pull and SF Productions for being in here because, honestly, I couldn't have done this by myself. And also, I picked 2 of the best. I loved hearing their opinions and their takes, and I love getting people who think about different parts of the franchise than I do. My hot take was that Sonic Rivals 2 should have made it further on in the tournament, and that was almost a deal breaker for them. Frankly, I don't blame them. Maybe I'll do something like this in the future, but who knows? I don't know if I'm gonna make something as enticing as a Sonic game tournament ever again. Oh no.